Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so nice to see you. Let me start with a question. What is your biggest challenge at work? Could it be leadership or lack of, culture, engagement, talent, retention? Today, more than ever, authentic and mindful leadership is very important. We're going to talk about some great stories of leaders. Why focus is part of their vocabulary, and how it can benefit you. Did you know that the average person just spends 2 hours of their day working? What do you think they're doing? Travel plans, calling friends, shopping, and some are napping. Today's complex world is pressure and stress. It's too many distractions, way too much information, and we're always on 24/7. Engagement's at an all-time low of 31%. CEOs and leaders are scratching their head. How can we help our employees to be more productive? How can they become more satisfied and engaged? And what can we provide them that's a simple solution that doesn't add to their workload? When you think of a leader that you admire the most, what qualities do they possess? Just volunteer, shout it out. Great examples. Leadership, rarely do you ever hear someone say they made their bottom line, because that is merely the entry point into their job. Leadership is way more than that. It's their characteristic traits: empathy, compassion, collaboration, trust, focus. Our best leaders today are defined by their story. Do they have values and purpose? Are they self-aware? Do they have a support team, both internally and externally? And how do they view work-life balance? How does your story define you as a leader? Think about that as we continue. Accenture came out and surveyed leaders all over the globe. They asked them, what was the #1 quality that leaders today had? The answer was self-aware. When a leader is self-aware, they know their strengths and weaknesses. They have values and purpose. I was in a meeting recently, and someone said to me, well, what makes you a leader? I thought about it. 2 words and 2 instances. Many years ago, I was involved in a marriage that wasn't right. Alcohol and more. I took my 2 babies and we left. Supported them completely on my own. It was courage to leave something that was supposed to be safe, but it was curiosity that told me, what else can I do? What can I learn? And that led me to CBS television. At CBS, great job, lots of fun, money. But then again, I said, what can I do? How can I transfer my skills? What can I learn? And it was courage that made me leave something that was safe, a paycheck, friends, and maybe crazy. Today, I speak, I coach, and I train with organizations and individuals on performance impact in leadership, communication, career, and creating thriving work environments. Think about it. How does your story define you? My first story, Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks. Howard's story defines him as a leader. As a young boy, his father breaks his leg, loses his job, doesn't have medical insurance, and is bitter. But Howard's mother was his motivator. Howard, you can do whatever you want. And here Howard is today. It was the fear of what happened to his father that motivates Howard, but that same fear allows Howard to offer the very best benefits for his employees. Higher medical benefits, higher minimum wage, and now he's supporting the community with food that doesn't sell. Howard is defined by two words, humanity and communication. Howard will call stores at 5:30 in the morning, not to check in on them, but to support them. He visits over 20 stores in a given week. Howard is a true, authentic leader. Dan Goleman defines leadership in a number of words. We know leaders need to be focused, authentic, but they also have to be flexible and nimble. They need to rotate within different leadership styles, often in a given week, depending on the situation. They need to be visionaries. Come with me and be a part of it. They need to understand the importance of people and team. Democratic, what do you think? I don't have all the answers. Let's collaborate. And coaching, how can I support and train you so you're the next leader? Coaching, they usually don't have the time for it. So that is why they hire outside consultants, but they do know it works. The last two, command and control. Command and control is good in a turnaround situation, but that same leader can't be that way all the time. They need to be visionaries, inspiring, motivating, collaboration, and support. The very last is a micromanager. If you ever work for one, it's difficult. If you can't do it, they're going to do it. Kat Cole, 38 years old, president of Focus Brands, a $1 billion company. It's Cinnabon, Auntie Anne's, Carvel. She is defined by her story. As a young girl, her mom and two sisters are involved in a situation which is drugs, alcohol, abuse. She takes her girls and she moves them from that situation. It was courage to move them. But it was her positive and motivating attitude that at age 21, Kat was Vice President of Global Expansion for Hooters, opening stores globally. Kat used to sit in the bathroom a little longer than normal so she could hear what her employees were saying. Kat is defined by a few words: empathy, humility, communication, and courage. She believes it's important to find a win, even in the smallest of situations, and that you can learn not only from your failures, but from your successes. Take a listen as Kat talks.
And so think of this in terms of your vendors, your partners, your customers, your client base, or even your employees when they've been through a tough time. As a leadership team, we chose to spend the first year to do nothing but give. We just gave. We gave royalty relief. We gave remodel incentives. We went in and gave pats on the back and extra support and extra training. We gave and gave and gave because that relationship bucket, that confidence bucket had been totally drained. And it was our job to fill it back up. Because if we didn't fill it back up, who would? And the answer is probably no one. And if we didn't do it right away, how long would it take for them to get that mojo back? And probably too long. So we focused on giving. And then at every opportunity, we focused on small wins, whether it was one product that they executed right. And I will tell you, there were some visits with franchise partners and licensed partners and manufacturers where I struggled to find anything good. But I made my life depend on it. Before I leave this building, and by the way, this was the culture of our entire team, I will find something good. I don't care if it's, well, all your lights are on. Great job. You gotta find a win. And then over time, people start to feel not as beat up. They start to believe that we're simply shoulder to shoulder moving through coaching and challenges and improvement and evolution of the brand, not nose to nose debating, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, you're bad. And too many leaders are not sensitive enough to that. So celebrating small wins along the way. The next thing we did was focused on the power of what's possible. So I had 75% of my franchise system 4 years ago telling me all the reasons they couldn't invest capital, all the reasons that they needed to keep their prices insanely high because they were trying to compensate for lack of traffic, which creates what I affectionately like to call the toilet bowl effect. You keep raising prices, and then fewer people buy, and the people that still love you buy more often, and eventually you close your business. I had a ton of constituents telling me all the reasons they couldn't do things, and so I found those little tiny gems in the system, not because I said what's right, but I would find someone who gave evidence to what's possible. And so that accomplishes two things. One, it elevates and celebrates people who are doing the right thing in your organization. And this can be true for business units, franchisees, or employees. Even if you only have 3 employees in your company, maybe one of them is an example of what the other one can learn from, as opposed to simply debating or training or holding someone to a book or a standard. You point to what's possible.
Kat is also a great communicator. She's on social media, and one day, a mother-daughter, small gluten-free company, tweet her asking for advice. The exchange goes back and forth, and Kat actually buys their company. Kat is another authentic leader. Stress costs U.S. businesses $300 billion. 83% of people say that their job is a #1 stress factor. 1 in 5 will go out sick due to stress. 52% will consider leaving because of stress. And 46% of companies say that they have higher medical costs. Over the last 2 decades, our attention has been going down. And it's not due to genetics. It is our complex work environment. What percentage of your day do you think your mind is wandering? Any guesses? The answer is 46.9%. Once again, leaders are saying, wow, my team is only focused 53% of the time, and they're only spending 2 hours out of 8 working. What do we need to do? Who's been there? Hey, what the H is that? Oh, don't worry about that. That's just my scrambled mind. It happens. We multitask, but we know that multitasking is not good for us. The brain doesn't work that way. The brain works in a linear fashion, does one chore, then the next, and then the next. When we ask it to multitask, what we're asking it to do is switch time. It's jumping all over. It costs us more mistakes, more time, drains our energy, adds to our stress, hampers our creativity, and worse yet, it becomes a habit, and it shrinks our brain. Accenture has told us that leaders today need to focus in order to make critical decisions and apply judgment. That managing our attention is the single most important determinant of our business success. Let's try how focused and how strong your attention is. I want you, for the next 50 seconds, to just focus on one thing, personal, professional, someone's head in front of you. You ready? Okay, go. So how was it? Did you make it the full 50 seconds? Perhaps only 30? Your mind was wandering? That's absolutely normal. We have 70,000 thoughts in a given day. But we have 1,440 minutes, and we often find it difficult to manage our attention for just 1 minute. What are leaders doing today? CEO, military, politicians? It's written about on the cover of 60 Minutes. Forbes, Fortune, Fast Company, Time Inc., Seattle Seahawks, New York Knicks, Phil Jackson, they're doing it. It's called mindfulness or focus training or situational awareness. Companies such as Google, Accenture, McKinsey, GE, General Mills, Saks, IKEA, and many more. It's $1 billion industry, and 22% of companies are training their employees. Why? Because of the stress and the complexity of our work world, and two, what science and the brain research is. Mindfulness or focus training is called managing your attention. It's about enhancing the experience in the given moment. It is a set of mental tools that we can use to handle our environments. And it is a practice of bringing your attention back to focus. Every time you bring your attention back to focus, you strengthen your attention muscle. It is also called the mental gym, fitness for the mind. 50 years ago, we didn't know much about exercise until a scientist said, I don't think sitting around all day long is good for us. Now, we are very much aware how important it is to take care of our bodies. Well, now we need to think about our mind. Our mind is our most precious resource. We use it every day, every second. Now to the science. Neuroscientists are telling us about neuroplasticity. They used to think that at age 21, our brains stopped. What we were then is what we would be at 70. They now know that the brain can train and change. Every time we do something new, we make new neural pathways and connections. The more we do it, the stronger that gets. So they wanted to test it out, and they looked at London cabbies. In order to be a cabbie in London, it takes 2 to 3 years. You have to memorize 25,000 streets. And they looked at their brain. What did they find? The part of the brain, the hippocampus that controlled the memory, was stronger in gray matter, thicker. It was more active. So then they thought, let's test the minds of those that practice mindfulness. And what did they find? The prefrontal cortex, which controls your critical decision-making, your self-regulation, your empathy, your emotions, was stronger in gray matter. Your ability to avoid distractions was stronger. The area that controls your stress or your fight, flight, the amygdala, had actually decreased in gray matter. Mindfulness is a critical element in leadership. It allows us the ability to respond versus react. It allows us to be totally present and aware in the situation. We often do it as a breathing practice because we always have our breath. Any questions? I hope you're finding this interesting. So what are the benefits for you? They know that it improves performance, productivity, collaboration and engagement, emotional intelligence skills, communication. Pacific Blue Cross on the West Coast was going through a management change and technology change. They knew it would be more stress and more hours for their employees. So they offered a suite of benefits. Mindfulness was one of those. The employees that went and incorporated mindfulness into their routine were more satisfied, were able to deal better with the change, and had less stress. SAP, big technology company. A gentleman gets himself trained, goes into HR and says, I really believe we should bring this internally. And she said, I'm not quite sure if leadership's behind us. You test it out on the employees. What they found, the employees were less stressed, performance improved, and they were more satisfied. They now offer it globally in all their offices. We know it reduces blood pressure, reduces stress, improves your memory and your mood, improves your sleep patterns, and they say it will also help you as you age. Another great story. Mark Bertolini, CEO of Aetna. He goes on a ski trip with his family to Vermont. He's in a horrific accident, almost dies. He goes through regular medical treatments and drugs, and he finds he's getting almost addicted and lethargic. A friend of his tells him that he should try yoga and mindfulness. So Mark does. He finds he improves, he has a better relationship to his pain, and it's a world of difference. So he goes to his CMO and says, I think we need to bring this internally. Of course, his CMO says, test it before we'll do it. So Aetna runs some tests, but they also collaborate with the University of Duke. And Duke ran tests against stress, blood pressure, cortisol. You know what they found? 19% of people reduced in sick leave. Turnover reduced by 46%, and stress reduced by 26%. Employees gained a matter of 60 minutes over the course of a month, which equated to $3,000. Healthcare, also, a savings of $2,000 per employee in medical cost. Mark was sitting down with the CFO, and they noticed some savings. And they know that mindfulness was a part of the $7 million savings they had. Another story. Tim Ryan, senator out of Ohio. He has a lot of political stress, a lot of stress at home. A friend of his turns him on to mindfulness. He tries it. Within a matter of a few short weeks, his employees are saying, wow, you're managing better. You're more compassionate. You're more thoughtful in your communication. Today, Tim brings it up to the Hill every week. He brings it into school-age children. They've seen results in bullying. And he also brings it into the military. There's many like this. So how do you bring this into your own personal life? It's easy. Eileen Fisher, CEO of a $350 million clothing company with stores right here in Charlotte. She starts every meeting with a 45-second pause. It's that time for her team to get clear and focused so they can make critical and creative decisions. Who's been in a meeting back to back? What happens? You leave one meeting, you rush into the next, and you spend the first 5 minutes writing notes from the previous meeting. You've already missed some time. Take the time to take these breaks throughout your day, be it 30 seconds, 45 seconds. When you're walking to the bathroom, in between meetings, focus on your breath, focus on your steps as you walk. A lot of people feel if they can take this time, this 1 minute in the morning, even while you're commuting, that you make more effective decisions throughout your day. We all commute on the way home. Take another minute. People love doing it in the shower. Just focus on the water falling on your back. Also, when you're speaking to someone, give them that full attention. Give them 1 minute. Don't interrupt. Listen intently to what they have to say. You'll be very surprised at what you learn. What they say is that in 10 years, mindfulness will be another check mark on the health box. Did you brush your teeth? Did you eat healthy? But for those who are doing it now, it's that competitive advantage. And as Bill George, former CEO of Medtronic and now Harvard business professor, says, when you're fully present in your job, you make better decisions, you manage more effectively, and you build better relationships. And isn't that truly what leadership is about? Thank you so much for your time. I hope you found it interesting. And are there any questions? Remember, I speak, I train, and I coach with organizations and individuals around performance, leadership, career. If you'd like to have me in your organization for training, speaking, or coaching, please step by and talk to me. Thank you again. Thank you again, and have a great afternoon.